Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Well, hi. I hope that you had a lovely weekend. I want to start out by thanking all the folks that came out to the Jefferson Park Sunday Market. In particular, of course, our sponsors. No, not of course. I mean, everybody. It was a very fun market, and it was great to hang out with our sponsors of the show. I do. They know that I have a fondness, not just for their support of WCPT and this show, but they're just wonderful people to hang out with. Patti and Jackie from Pride Coffee Roasters. We're slinging their goods. Selling those roasted single origin, roasted to order coffee beans. Of course, they're available at every Jefferson Park market, which is the second and fourth Sundays of the month. And we'd love to have you there. And they are also available at other markets. They do the Skokie market on the same day, which means that we just get half of the Pride Coffee Roasters duo, and they have other markets available. I know that they on their website pridecoffeeroasters.com you can find out more. And it was a great day. I get there a little bit later because I stayed till the very end. And yesterday, one of our volunteers, Don, went around to tell every vendor, like, "Hey, I'm looking at the Doppler. It's not looking great. You might want to start packing up now." It was a solid day, and it did drop off. I think other people, when they see that the weather's changing, tend to change their mind about their plans. And we had the folks were selling out of a lot of their incredible goods, including there's crackers. There's these crackers that are like, there's no flour or starches. It's all seeds. And she was completely sold out. But one of the vendors I don't think they quite grasped the severity of how the weather was going to be. So I was there, me and Meryl, the Jefferson Park Sunday Market, were under this tent with just buckets of water coming down on us and absolutely drenched. And I was just kind of standing there like, it's been a minute since I've been completely drenched. And it kind of everything. I mean, like socks, shoes, shorts, everything was drenched. And so it was a wonderful market. And I was sitting there thinking, you know what? This means that my tomatoes are going to get plenty of water. So it was great. And then I hung out with some of the folks here at WCPT, and Paul Shivari is behind the glass today. Hey, Paul, let me see if I have this all set up for you to hang out with me.
Should work.
Yay! He said it for me.
Right.
Thank you. Appreciate it. What's going on in the world of sports, my friend? What do we got? What are you watching this week? Or are you still recovering? You said that Liverpool is in the
Liverpool was here last week, so I'm still recovering from that. I feel like I'm still beaten by the sun from a week ago. They start their regular season, I think, another week from now, 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
And then, baseball. It's like the final rush. So we have like 2 Chicago baseball teams and a playoff push here.
What? It's very exciting. I've been to one game this year, but I'm good. I feel like I'm full.
They scored enough runs in that game for you.
That was crazy. The Sox and the Cubs seem like they've been having a lot of high-scoring games. I feel like when we were hanging out yesterday, the Cubs scored another, it was like 10-something.
Yeah, right? I think they got 10 in their game, yeah.
It was wild. At any rate, I saw a guy with a Brewers hat yesterday at the market, and I was like, go Brewers. I'm just excited. I love baseball. I don't have as much of a strong allegiance as I used to the Cubs for various reasons. So how are the Sox doing? The Sox are going to be, you mentioned
they took 2 out of 3 against Cleveland, who was second place in the division, but now Cleveland, I think, is third. So they extended their division lead.
All right. Wow, look at that.
And magic number's 42 for those of you playing at home.
Okay.
Long way to go.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems like a long way to go. Any word? I've checked in with some legislators in Springfield, or those that serve in our General Assembly, and it doesn't sound like there is any path forward with negotiations on the Bear Stadium. There's nothing happening.
So they started their legislative session again? No, okay, yeah.
No.
I would say things would kick up around there. The last I'd heard, the Bears were supposed to be working directly to kind of draw up what they want from the legislative body.
Okay.
But I had thought I had seen some sort of side information that says that they're still thinking about Arlington Heights, but I have no credible source on that one.
What a mess. It's just a mess. Yeah. I was asking a couple folks that serve in Springfield if there would be a legislative session, because that was a special legislative session, So they would, when there's something looming, something needs to be funded, some decisions that need to be done now rather than later, because the next time they're in Springfield, I believe, is like October between I think sometime before. I think October, November, but it's only for like 2 weeks. It's the veto session, so they come in and they do sometimes unfinished business during that session as well. But I don't know that they have any plans to pick up the Bears negotiations.
I guess is the election year, does that affect like the calendar, and that's why they're not in a session before November?
Because they are running. That's right. It's so funny how I get it, right? But they also have jobs to do. I get that they're running, but also part of what you're running for is the job that you do, which you're not doing because you're running. See how it's.
But all of them want to keep that job.
Yes, and I get that. I get that. So, not all of them are running. A lot of them going unchallenged. Just saying. But not enough for it to be sort of holding a lot of things up. We do have coming up in just a little bit, speaking of our Illinois Dems, we have Reed McCullum, who's the chair for the DuPage County Dems. And we'll talk a little bit about the events. They just did a DuPage County Fair. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Monday. It's funny. I was talking about the Jefferson Park Sunday Market yesterday. Friday was so much fun at the McHenry County Fair. I didn't know what to expect. You never know. Because I've been to like some county fairs around the country and you're just kind of like, okay. But there was a nice energy. Didn't you think, Paul?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the McHenry County Dems had their tent. Now, I was telling Joan a little bit of that story of being at the forced birther table. I really can't. I think it's like they have all these little models of uterus, right? They have like the sliced open, uterus of a woman and how big a fetus is, an embryo, and all that stuff. And first of all, inaccurate, right? Because we know when we look at a fetus, an embryo, they had it like where they're like curled up. It looks like there's snuggling in the womb, and they have hands and all that. You can't decipher, like, those parts are not. They're much more developed than is reality. But they also had a quiz there. There were two young girls, both blonde girls, right there. So they were filling out this quiz, and the very first question was, when does human life start? And and they have these options, and so they chose whatever. And the answer for them is life begins at conception. Human life begins at conception. So I got into a back and forth with the guy behind the counter, asking him, like, where do you guys get your information? What's that based on? He's like, and he said that those are the answers they gave me. Right, which
look, man, I just work here, okay?
I know, and he was not, and we went back and forth for a moment because I was like, so if life begins there, then we are all 9 months older than our birth date, kind of a thing. And so he was just like, what? And I'm like, well, I mean, so what rights do you have in utero if you're human life, and like, can you get, can you get insurance? Can you have alimony payments, like parental?
You can't claim somebody that's not born yet as a dependent.
But if that's when life right, so these are the sort of the tangles. Anyway, so and I wasn't really in the mood to do all of it anyway, but I just felt like I just couldn't let it go on. And I should just walk away. But he was like getting frustrated, and he looked at the two blonde girls, and he goes, "Well, you're white. I mean, right about one of the answers they had." And I go, "Nope, that's it. Got it. You said it. I hear."
Little Freudian slip there.
It was really. I mean, and I wasn't. I was trying to keep a very respectful tone. We both were. He was as well. He didn't. It was. You could tell we were kind of having a little back and forth. But I just felt like there. We were also. I went to stop. Planned Parenthood was also there, so that was nice. And so across the way was the GOP of McHenry County, and they were like doing this little like whispering about the people, about us standing at the Planned Parenthood thing. It's just weird. But I just feel I'm just glad that they had a well-rounded representation of
so you saw like the Republican candidates were on one side of the festival, and we were on the other side of the festival, and like it didn't seem like it was like a one-sided affair.
Exactly, and I was so grateful to McHenry County, the organizers, the board of directors that had us there. I really enjoyed talking to the young woman from the 4-H club. She Lily was fantastic.
That was the younger girl, right?
Yeah, she was great, and telling her story about getting up super early in the morning and the responsibilities she has of raising the livestock. She was responsible for two steer. I can't remember the other animals that she was talking about, but she talked about caring for them, bringing them to 4-H, presenting and that whole universe, which was kind of interesting. I don't really know what the ins and outs of that. I've been to county fairs and been like, oh, there's a cow and there's some carved butter and things like. Had you been to the McHenry County Fair before?
A long time ago. So to intern, at a radio station, I was there, and then when I was like a teenager, I would go there with like my buddy to try and like get phone numbers from girls, and yeah. Which was really
love
tough
that.
in the pre-cell phone days. We'd have to like write it down.
Oh
and
my
like
God.
we didn't have a pen, so we'd have to memorize the number.
Yep. You write it on your hand.
Yeah. Or, like you memorize the prefix, I'll remember the last four.
Oh
I don't
my
know,
God.
Things like that. That actually happened.
No, I love that. I'm trying to remember if I ever flirted with boys at a fair. Just I can't. I really I was curious as to whether I could handle any of the spinning rides, but I knew I wasn't going to get on one. Like
Did you ever like the zipper or any of those?
Loved the zipper. That was one of my favorite rides. A few weeks ago, I messaged a friend of mine, Barbara, who I'd gone to grade school with, and I saw a video of people on the zipper because you can make the car, spin around faster by
if you
swinging.
get the right sort of weight distribution. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're already kind of going in a loop, but then you can make your individual car spin faster. And I saw that, and I sent her a link to it. She's like, "Oh my God, it's my favorite ride. How'd you remember that?" I'm like, "Because you and I, we were on a ride, and they let us stay on it like over and over again."
That's awesome.
It was amazing. It was one of the best nights, and I mean, I just have one of those memories where she's like, "How did you remember?" I'm like, "Yep, I remember that from when we were 10 years old. They let us go on this ride over and over and over again." So yeah, they had the zipper there. I was so surprised to see that. And they had the one where you kind of like hand gliding. Did you notice it didn't seem like the rides were very busy? So because I walked over and like a lot of them were empty, and I was like, "Come on, thrill seekers, let's go."
Yeah, I didn't get a good look at the rides, but I feel like I'm like too old for all of them. Like
Oh,
I want
yeah.
to try the zipper one more time, but I never really liked the dizzy, spinny rides, and I feel like now that I'm getting older, like my body
Yeah.
just won't handle it.
Mine does not. I got nauseous at Triple Play at Great America a few years ago. That's the one where it has like three arms with the little cars. It kind of it goes in circles, but then it kind of swoops up and down.
Oh yeah, it's like the
Oh.
lobster or something like
A
that.
little bit. Yes, it is like the lobster. That's been gone for a long time.
Oh wow, so okay, it's not the
Yes.
lobster then.
It's just like the lobster, though. It is very much. It might even. Like the condor is still there. At least the last time I was there, that was Triple Play. The Fun Machine. Those two are near the Wizard. Hi everybody, welcome to Great America Talk. Great America turns 50 years this year.
Oh wow.
50 years, and I've been going since I was 5 years old. And as Dave from Hoffman Estates pointed out, I am approaching my double nickels. So 50 years ago, this August, I went to Great America for the first time. I would not have known that it was brand new. It was amazing. Like they had a whole area there were a couple things. They had a whole circus area. There's a picture of me with a clown, and not in a creepy way. And then they also had for folks who are listening that are around my age. Do you remember the Fun Fort? They had a whole kids area, Paul, that was like climbing rope bridges. They had a ball pit before we were all worried about how dirty those were. We had it was a blast, and that was from the 1976 when they had the Fun Fort. And there's pictures of it online too. Super fun. And I didn't really do roller coasters. They used to have these Tweety Bird cages that went. Do you remember those that went like around? They kind of went up and around. They used to have the sky carts like on those long cables that went across the entire park.
Okay, yeah.
That was we did all that. I used to love it. And my parents loved the performances. They used to have more like almost like Broadway style performances at that theater that you see when you first come in. They used to do a lot of that. Yeah. We enjoyed that. I miss it. And when my boys were little, and they had built the water park, we loved taking the boys to the water park. When Declan could walk, that was his jam. We'd get there early, set up. Really fun memories of going to Great America. And like Griffin would, who's now 20, he's going to be 23 next month. This is crazy. But he would like all the Batman rides, and the Superman ride I'm not a big fan of.
Okay.
Have you done that one?
I haven't been to Great America in like 30 years, so like some of the newer rides I just do not.
This seems
know.
like a company trip. Is management listening? I think we need to do a Great America trip. I'm just saying that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Let's do a let's get does Groupon have like buy one get one frees or anything?
Like a group outing, get everyone out there. Maybe all day we broadcast from there. Like get Joan out there.
How do I get that deal done? Let's because I know that they start going to weekends like once school is in session, and then there's Fright Fest, which we also used to do. That was so much fun to bring the boys to as well.
Oh yeah, like there could be like a zombie following you or something. Yeah,
and all the things. We would go before it got very dark because we didn't want to make it too scary especially for Griffin. But I have like so many photos. They actually. When the boys were little, like they wouldn't allow adults to wear costumes into the park. Like only kids. You had to be under 12 years old to wear a costume during Fright Fest, which I did not know. Yeah, although it was kind of interesting because we used.
Why do you suppose that is?
I really don't know. I just, maybe it causes too much chaos is all I can think of. But yeah,
Okay, yeah.
we had to take our costumes back, which was fine. But yeah, because I was a bit, I know it's hard to believe, but I do love Halloween. We would do, the boys had like multiple costumes because the day after Halloween, I would go shopping at all the stores for their clearance for like 50 to 75% off everything.
So you already determined what they're wearing like 364 days later.
Oh yeah. Oh, I am a plan ahead kind of gal, and it was great. Like Griffin, I was looking at some photos when we were at Vaughn's yesterday. I was looking at photos. I was trying to show somebody like the wide range of Griffin was often like all these pictures of moms with their sons who dress up like Spider-Man.
Okay.
I have so many pictures of Griffin like dressed up as Spider-Man. He was also often Batman, Robin. He used to do a lot of different characters. Okay, so this is what he would do for Halloween. Because like mom, I would do wardrobe changes, and I would start the day as the boys were a little bit older, like preschool and grade school. I would start out the day because one time, because I love Halloween, I was a bride zombie, kind of like I clawed my weight out of like I died on my wedding day, had the whole thing, and and like like just ghoulish makeup and everything, and I took so Declan was at a preschool for kids with disabilities, and he didn't care, and Griffin thought it was cool and stuff like that, so. The kids were falling out of their chairs trying to get it. They were screaming and crying. And I was like, I am the worst special needs mom in the world. Like, I wasn't thinking about it. So after that year, I think Declan was like 3. So after that, I would always start the day like as Snow White. So I have like Snow White photos. So I'd start as like some Disney character. And then as the day would go on, I would like change from Snow White to maybe a little more grade school. Like I would do Wonder Woman, and I did Batgirl a few years. And then as it got later and the bigger kids were starting to come out, I would to hand out trick-or-treats, I would change into scarier and scarier costumes until one year, again, it was very much like the day at the disability preschool. Like I would open the door and have like sounds of like chains being dragged and like screaming and come out in the most ghoulish stuff. I would come out of the darkness, and one year it was a little rainy out and this kid almost fell backwards off my stairs. I'm like, okay, no. I don't need this insurance filing, so let's just go ahead and not do that. But Griffin would do the same. He would start out as Thomas the Tank Engine. He had like one of those drop over things where Thomas is on his belly, and then he would start to get more progressively more adult like costumes, like the culminating in Batman or something. But yeah.
That's really cool.
It was very fun.
Like it's fun. Like you're like the movie rating advancing, like you're G-rated, and then by the end you're like the PG-13 R-rated.
Blood. Like I would do like wardrobe changes. Steve would take over. It was a whole thing in our house. And I'm forbidden from doing if I had like all the resources and maybe a different property where Steve didn't worry about it, I would do like I would do the whole Halloween up, like where people have almost like a tent that you walk through with like almost a haunted thing. I would. Man,
I always liked that. There was like one house in the neighborhood that would like kind of guide you to the garage, and there'd be like a coffin, and someone would like pop out of the coffin.
I would do
like
that.
A little maze to get there.
Yes, these are the things. Yeah. One time, Griffin had a friend whose family owned property like in central Illinois, so they had sort of like a rural, like a farmhouse, and they did their barn up as a haunted. Like so, we all kind of like the parents would like slowly disappear into the barn to like be like to haunt them on the. It was so much fun.
Oh, cool.
Oh my god, I had so much fun. I think they
Have
were
you ever gone trick or treating with like the houses that provide like drinks and like all sorts of like fancy stuff for the kids and the parents?
No, but our neighborhood's not like that, and it used to be much busier. I think now. I mean, because now everyone does the trunk or treats. They do events where the kids can go to one place, which is cool. I think that I get that, but no, I've never. Steve would tell me stories about his neighborhood and like how the adults would go trick or treating and have their own treats for themselves as well.
That's cool. I have yet to go to a house like that, but I always like see them like the town pages where they like come on by. We got plenty of adult beverages for the adults and plenty of candy bars for the kids.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. I know that our own Matt Cummings does a really cool event for trick or treaters too. Let's take a break here. I've gone too long, and we'll come back and continue our conversation on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150. Hello to all of our friends tuning in digitally on Facebook, YouTube, and Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Thank you to our sponsors, Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com. Put in a bean subscription order for some of the best single origin roasted to order coffee beans you have ever had. Thank you to Source Solar. Go to source.solar and make an appointment with Peter Sorellis to get some solar panels on your house or business. He has teamed with Solar for all in Illinois, and that will help you with the payment financing. So we also want to thank our friends at Minocqua Brewing Company. Go to MinocquaMarketplace.com, and there are some great products. If you're watching digitally, you can see the banner behind me. That's from Liberal Lawn. We won't go quietly back to the 1950s. Is one of my favorite banners. I also have the FDDT banner as well. More after this. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk and
Or
Pete.
Pete.
No detours, no distractions. Just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home. We'll open up the phone lines in just a little bit. Right now, we're still settling in. We got a few minutes now before I take another break, and we welcome our friend Reed McCullum, who is the chair of the DuPage County Dems, to find out what they're up to. They just wrapped up their fair in DuPage County, and I wasn't able to get out there, but they also had their annual picnic, so we'll find out how things are going, what the energy is like in their neck of the woods. I want to remind everybody, of course, the shows here on WCPT that we carry locally. We have, for those of you listening on WCPT, tomorrow on Choose Views, Richard Chu will be taking your calls and talking to Ryan Nunn, who's the Director of Research with Yale University's Budget Lab and former senior economist at the White House's Council of Economic Advisors. Joining him as well will be North Carolina Democratic State Rep Rodney Pierce and Illinois Congressman Danny Davis. Wednesday, Congressman Mike Quigley will join. I'm sorry. I think it's really interesting right now how many electeds we have who are running for office. And Quigley has been making some waves with his campaigns. Congressman Mike Quigley will join Richard in studio to talk about his campaign for Chicago mayor. That's Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. Central on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And of course, tomorrow on Live Local and Progressive, you should join Esposito, who's going to be joined by, I have to reach out to Professor Joel Ostro. Joan sent me an email about this. Joel Ostro, professor of political science at Benedictine University, and Brian Endless, senior lecturer and director of African Studies and the African Diaspora. Sorry, I was reading too fast. At Loyola University, Chicago. They'll talk to Joan from 3 to 5. And wow, that's going to be a great conversation. Live, local, and progressive weekdays, 2 to 5 p.m. right here on WCPT at Central Time, 8:20 a.m. Heartlandsignal.com and tune in. And I will have John McDonough, who's professor of practice in the Department of Health Policy and Management at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And we'll talk more about our healthcare here in the United States. Anita is going to join us. Anita, our friend from the Democratic Party of Walworth County, Anita Locke is going to join us. She's the chair up there. And I have an event coming up on Sunday, August 16th. I will be speaking at the Walworth County Dems event in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. So find them online. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I believe Governor Evers is supposed to be there. I believe some of the other candidates for governor will be joining them as well. Want to take a look at some of the texts that we have coming in. One of our listeners. So, Paul, do you do a lot for Halloween? Is that a thing for like?
No, not really.
No.
I'm usually here on Halloween.
I can see that.
Yeah.
We'll have to make sure we bring you some candy. What are your favorite Halloween candies?
I like Whoppers, the malted milk balls.
Interesting. Yeah. It's funny you say that because, and not to bring it back to our sponsors, but I am drinking the Guatemala single origin roasted to order beans, and they have malted milk chocolate, and it makes me think of Whoppers.
Oh, wow.
I feel like you and I are in the like a lot of people don't like Whoppers.
I love like chocolate malts too.
Right?
So this is like get that malted milk powder in there. I'm all about it.
Sounds good. I'm gonna, I should bring you. I'll bring you a sample of the Guatemala. Do you like coffee?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I'll bring you some of those coffee beans.
Thank you.
Because they do have a hint of that. I can't. Oh, maple. It's maple and malted milk chocolate.
Oh, that'd be really good.
It's really. It is really good. Like I don't need any sweetener for that. The taste is fantastic. So that is. Really my favorite thing. So Halloween, someone wrote that they're thank you for bringing up those old memories. They remind me of my mom. She's the one who made us all love Halloween. 11 kids, homemade costumes. Can you imagine homemade? Did you have homemade costumes or store bought?
My mom would homemake like, half
Really?
the costumes. Yeah.
The same thing.
So I was like a California raisin one year. That totally dates me right there. Little kid in the 80s.
I love it.
My
The
sister
dancing
was one
raisins.
too. Everyone's like, "Are you guys potatoes? What's going on
Oh,
there?"
it's like Russ. It's like Russ and Friends.
Like if I wear a maroon face, does that make me a bad person?
maroon face.
I don't know
and
what color
purple.
is a raisin. What would you
It's
call
right.
it?
Purple's right.
Yeah,
I think
purple
that's. I mean,
face,
they
I don't
turn
know.
brown, but I think they're because they're grapes and they
Yeah.
dehydrate. And yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny. I love that. My mom one year made the best Dracula costume for me. Like I did not do because I love the old Bela Lugosi vampire movies. So I didn't want because the women were like in these sheer they weren't like the male vampires. She made one that was this black felt. And she sewed handles into it so I could wrap the cape around me and
cool.
open it, and then red satin, like the most beautiful. I wish I still had this with the collar and everything. Oh my God, it was so cool.
Like she went the whole way. Like
Oh, my mom could sew. Yeah. That was one of my favorite costumes. And then for some reason, when I started and then she started working more and it was a little bit harder. So one year I was a hobo. And then one year I was a bum. I don't really know why.
What's the difference?
So we were doing this thing. I think it came from a stick with a pouch on the end of the stick.
Okay, a
That'd be a
bindle,
hobo. Yeah. And then I would put charcoal on my face. I think that costume was based off of on the Brady Bunch. There was a skit that Florence Henderson and I want to say it was Marsha together. I can't remember the name of the song. Wherever you go,
I don't remember that episode.
Wherever you go, I'm there. It was this, yeah. So they're both dressed like that, and I copied the torn patches on a flannel shirt and charcoal on my face to be like a beard and stuff. It was very strange. But yeah, so I did that. One year I was a hobo, next year I was a bum, and I don't know what that. And I've talked to people who had similar costumes. I don't know what was in the ether that we were doing these costumes, and then. Yeah, I did a lot of costumes, but I feel like I dress up more as an adult than I did as a kid. Just getting to choose now, And I will say, Chicago costume. I know a lot of folks. Fantasy costume is great in Portage Park, and Chicago costume on Montrose is fantastic as well. They have handmade costumes you can rent. I think both places do. They really fantastic stuff. Oh, I need to go to a break so we can let our chair of the DuPage County Dems on the air with us to talk about what they have going on. We talked to their interns both in studio, and then I was honored to speak to everybody last week. They just had their annual picnic, and we're at the DuPage County Fair. So let's talk about what all things DuPage County Dems and what they're up to. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle. And hello to all of our friends tuning in digitally, Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150 in Seattle. If you are tuning in digitally on Facebook, YouTube, or Minocqua Brewing Company Substacks, please consider subscribing and sharing with your friends and family so they can join the conversation too. And all of our shows are available as podcasts wherever you download them. And we invite you to join us at heartlandsignal.com. In particular, our newsroom, catching the stories that shape our democracy. And speaking of our democracy, we've got some folks working hard all across the country to energize and engage and inform voters. Joining us on the line right now is the chair of the Democratic... I've got words, Reed, I promise. The chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage, Reed McCollum, joins us. Hey, Reed, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. I don't know if you talked about this, but I like your Selena T-shirt.
Oh.
I'm wearing my Greg Schwarzy County Board member T-shirt today.
I will say this. I started my career about the year that Selena was murdered. Selena would be my age this year.
Wow.
Yeah, well, we would always be the same age. She was my age, and I honestly had just found her like in that last year of her life, and was absolutely consumed by how talented and engaging she was, and really like that promise of that crossover star. And at any rate, thank you for the compliment. I am wearing a Selena T-shirt that someone was like that. It looks like a ripoff of the Nirvana shirt, which I don't. Okay, it just looks like it's just an image of her singing.
Well, we lost Kurt Cobain too soon as well. So.
Yes, exactly. At any rate, how was the DuPage picnic yesterday, my friend?
The picnic was great. We probably had 250 people there,
What?
and it was so inspiring. Christian Mitchell, our next lieutenant governor,
Yep.
former deputy governor, joined us and spoke eloquently. We had, so many candidates there speaking, and it was just a great opportunity with now 85 days left to just enjoy some progressive company and just gear up, because we got to take care of ourselves, but then we got to go do the work.
Yeah.
And 85 days is not a lot of time.
That's I was talking to our friends in McHenry County, and folks who moved away from the Chicagoland area were very surprised to find out how much progress you guys have made in DuPage County. Do you get the sense that like there has a sort of also a ripple effect on the counties as we get into more, red or purple, because McHenry County seemed to be a much more challenging place these days, but so was DuPage County at one point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think in DuPage, it's a combination of we have a lot of college educated voters, and the demographics have really changed. And, we've taken advantage of that. I mean, I think, what the momentum is, good people want to run. And, you can't wipe out Republicans all the way down ballot if you don't have candidates that are willing to run. And we've had a lot of success in DuPage with that. I think we could win every single race this fall, and we can't take it for granted. We got to do a lot of great work. And then, in the municipals in April, there's a lot of, and they're nonpartisan, but there are a lot of really conservative mayors that we want to replace with more values aligned candidates. And, I hope that McHenry, I know they're doing the work out in McHenry to connect with voters, and I think they will see the results as well.
And I think that one of the races that in particular that you're focusing on, if I'm not mistaken, in DuPage is the sheriff's race. Is that right? To elect the first Democrat since like the 1800s?
Yeah, the last time there was a Democrat in the sheriff's office in DuPage was 1845. It's not clear whether that person was elected or not. It's not really clear in the archives. It was served as sheriff in 1843 and 1844. Sorry, 1844 and 1845. So it's definitely been a long time, and it would make a tremendous difference, because, if you think of offices, a lot of the key races that we've got are ones where we have a Democratic majority already on the county board, the state house, the state senate. We want to flip every single one of those, but making sure that we still have a Democratic clerk is really critical. We have a Democratic clerk now, but we can't let the Republicans flip that office. But yeah, we haven't had a Democratic sheriff in DuPage in a million years, and that would make a tremendous difference in people's lives. Peter Coolidge is a fantastic candidate. He was a sheriff's deputy for 28 years, retired. He's a lifelong Democrat. He's the real deal. We're going to win that race, and we could use, a lot of folks' help to, if you live in DuPage, spread the word to your friends and family and neighbors about voting for Pete Coolidge.
That's fantastic. And what kind of ways can we? I mean, obviously, folks will be like, "Well, you live in Cook County. Why are you getting involved in races in DuPage or McHenry and things like that?" What do you say to folks who, want to know why folks? And because it's the same thing, like if we're helping out in other states, isn't it?
I mean, I shouldn't say this, but if you have a pest control business, Patty, you go where the roaches and the rats are. And
the opinions of Reed McCollum, not necessarily.
it popped into my head on a Monday, but that's where the Republicans are. So if you have a lot of fun fighting other Democrats, then continue to focus on that. But we're trying to get rid of Republicans to make people's lives better, and we're not that far away. So I mean, we have postcards people can write from the lakefront, and a lot of people are, and we're doing about 100,000 get out the vote postcards in DuPage. If people are interested in helping us with that, there's information on our website about the postcards.
That's I can hear you still thinking about it, but I was talking the other day about a listener who texts in and makes these demands, and here's the thing: like we have ways of managing the messaging, like the text screen, and there's certain things that I do to sort of like stifle the loudness on my end, and I like to imagine them as being cockroaches in a jar who think that they're climbing up the sides of the wall to get out, but they're not. So you are not alone in these analogies. Not calling that person necessarily a roach, but I'm saying that that's how I imagine the similarities.
I'm hoping most of your listeners understand the analogy. I'm not, it's not about voters, but
Right.
the Republican policies are really harmful and devastating, and we're fighting fascism, so I'm not going to pull a lot of punches.
Well, that's my thing is that all these folks who seem to now be realizing that the voting for this administration at all levels is harming them, right? Whether it's by prices, whether it's by their insurance coverage, whether it's the services they get. Now we're hearing that Trump wants to, and I guess vaccinations is something that people have been clamoring for, separating out the childhood vaccination schedule, which is now there's an executive order that splits measles, mumps, and rubella. This is what people wanted, apparently, were higher rates of measles and spreading fear and misinformation about this. But I mean, for folks who wanted to vote for anti-vax stuff, folks that wanted to vote for, for immigration, it's starting to hit them in ways that is harmful for them. Are you hearing any stories like that from folks who are like, I want to learn more about what the Dems stand for before I vote, but I'm not voting for Trump again or Trump's endorsements?
I mean, I just think about sort of the stories that we're hearing about. You mentioned the dysfunction with our health systems because of RFK Jr., but don't forget, like Trump, there's a million people who are kids that are losing SNAP benefits across the country. I think it was like 770,000 children that are losing food stamps, and that is going to get drastically worse after the midterms when those real cuts come into play. I mean, states could lose all of their SNAP benefits, and if there's like an error rate where states will have to pay 15%, they can't afford it. States can cut off all SNAP benefits, and this is what's coming after the midterm. So it's existential. We've taken for granted that people, especially children, shouldn't go hungry in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And that is to pay for tax cuts for billionaires and the war in Iran.
Wow. And according to the latest data research, enrollment in SNAP dropped 5.3 million across the country, which also hurts, the grocery industry and the ag industry. I mean, there are a lot of farmers who, as part of how they stay solvent, is receiving payments because of all the goods that are bought by people who use SNAP.
And I think I was just listening to a podcast about the Arizona, because its Republican-controlled legislature decided to implement a lot of the changes ahead of the midterms, and they've just had total dysfunction. I don't have the statistic on how many people have lost benefits, but that will be coming to most states in terms of just the system crashing everywhere, where people can't renew their benefits, they can never get through to schedule an appointment, any kind of paperwork error. You lose your food stamps for good, and it's going to be just a devastation. And so we have to do everything possible to make sure we have a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate this fall.
Yeah, I think that a big part of that, I was when we come into a midterm, it's challenging sometimes to get people energized, but I feel like that's happening because people are paying more attention, because they are either in pain or they know that we're heading in the wrong direction, all of that kind of language. What are you seeing as far as like maybe people who weren't involved politically? Are you seeing more people showing up and wanting to know, what can I do? How can I volunteer? How can I support the work that you're doing?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of people get involved, and they're worried about just what the government's doing to hurt people. It's like a constant distraction from everything we just talked about, to food stamps, to the flat cameras going in everywhere, data centers. It's gotten perilous to the point where people are like, Democrats aren't perfect. I'm not sure I feel like they're fighting hard enough, but we have to become part of that. And and make change, because we can't just ignore these issues anymore. It's not about whether Republicans are doing anything to help people. I think folks understand that's not happening. But we have to use government for good at this point.
Yeah. Are there races outside of the state of Illinois that you're watching? Because obviously tomorrow is Wisconsin's primary. People have been early voting for 2 weeks. That's all they get. They get 2 weeks of early voting. I think for the federal, for the general,
Right.
they might have a lot more time. Are you following races like that? Because I'm hearing a lot of folks say that they don't think Francesca Hong can beat Tiffany, and I don't know that that's polling shows otherwise. Do you have any thoughts on races like that?
Yeah, I think she can. I really hope she does. I think I think AES in Michigan has a really good chance to win that race. I think by and large, a lot of the candidates that we've got are really strong. I think she might be a little bit far left for a swing state that Donald Trump won, but primaries tomorrow, and then whoever wins, we got to go all in to make sure that we support every single one of these candidates. To me, it's like it's who cares, because when it happens, we got to go help our Democrats win.
I think that's fair. Do you have time for another segment, Reed? Because
absolutely.
I just realized I had done show prep today. Sometimes I don't do show prep. I had like a bunch of things. The day got away from me. I didn't sleep very well this weekend. And plus, I just had coffee like way too late today, and it just kicked in. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I had information. Let's take a break here. We're talking to Reed McCollum, chair of the DuPage County Dems, the Democratic Party of DuPage. See, I have notes. Go to DuPageDemocrats.com. Look at this when I prepare. It's like a whole different show. DuPageDemocrats.com to join them, to support the work that they do, find out about events they have coming up, and we'll continue our conversation with Reed when we come back. If you guys have any thoughts or comments, you can text me at 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. We will open up the phone lines after the 6 o'clock news, just getting through some of the topics of the day, and just prattling on about Halloween for some reason in Great America, because that's what I do sometimes. More in a moment on WCPT, KKNW, and hello to all of our friends tuning in digitally. Please consider subscribing and sharing so other folks can join the conversation. We'll be right back. Here's great news for those Chicagoans heading up to southern Wisconsin. Should you ever forget to load up on progressive brews from the local favorites like Rogers Park Provisions or Park West Liquor in Lincoln Park, Minocqua Brewing Company beer is now conveniently available at Dream Liquor and Cigar in Kenosha and in the Lake Geneva area at Delavan Liquor and Smoke in Delavan. If the great town of Madison, Wisconsin is your jam, please remember to swing into the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room at 2927 East Washington Avenue to grab some Resistance beer, pizza, t-shirts, and progressive camaraderie.
No detours, no distractions. Just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home here on WCPT, KKNW, and all of our platforms streaming live with Facebook, YouTube, and Minocqua Brewing Company's Substack. Joining us on the line right now is Reed McCollum, chair for the Democratic Party of DuPage. And they just had their annual picnic yesterday with over 250 people in attendance, which shows a lot of energy and enthusiasm for the work that they're doing. And you also had your DuPage County Fair. How did your fair go this year?
The fair was great. We, Patty, as you know, and you mentioned, we had 15 interns this summer. They're going to be going back to school soon, which is really sad. But they and our incredible volunteers staffed our booth and had a lot of really great interactions with folks in the community about the Democratic Party. Listening to sort of what their issues were and just ways that they could get involved with the Dems. So it was a fun fair.
That's wonderful. And did you go on any of the rides? Eat any good fried food? What'd you have?
I did not ride the rides. I walked around. I spent a lot of the time that I was there at the booth.
Gotcha. I had some cheddar nuggets, by the way, which were fantastic. I'm just saying they were really very tasty. Like not cheese curds. These were cheddar nuggets. They were fantastic. Reed has been a part of so much great work in DuPage County, where the beating heart of the Illinois Republican Party used to be, and not anymore. Reed has spent years turning that around, along with the DuPage Dems. They ran 49 candidates in local races, and all 49 won. And then last summer, our guest got a text on a Saturday night asking if his party's Carroll Stream office could host a press conference. Tell us a bit about this experience with what went down in Texas.
Well, it was actually just like August 3rd is when the Texas legislators fled the state, and it was secret. And Governor Pritzker coordinated to bring them to Illinois, and they needed a place to have their first national press conference after fleeing their state to stop, as we all know, the Republican gerrymandering that we've just been dealing with for 6 months. And yeah, they came to our office in Carroll Stream. Several of them said, they had no idea where they were, but it felt like home because a Dem office is a Dem office.
Oh, that's
And
great.
James Tallarico, who we didn't know is the U.S. Senate candidate, was just right there with him. I got a chance to meet him, and they're just they were heroes. But it was great to hear them. That's the kind of fight that people are looking for, and they
Yeah.
really led the charge. It raised so much awareness and attention to the need to fight back, and we've seen obviously California and other states, and the gerrymandering
Oh,
wars are not going away.
yeah.
But the fight that Democrats are showing is essential and really important. So yeah, it was great because you never would have imagined 20 years ago, when it was one of the most Republican counties in the country, with Henry Hyde and everything, that the DuPage would be a safe place for Democratic legislators fleeing another state.
I think that it really is just a show of the success that you have all had in DuPage, and to have that honor of welcoming them. And and to your point, by the way, I don't think folks realize how Tallarico, he's polling, I think, in at least one poll 4 points ahead of Ken Paxton, which is remarkable in Texas. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a winnable race. I mean, I think similar with Josh Turek in Iowa, Sherrod Brown in Ohio. I think
Yeah.
we can win the Senate.
That's amazing. And so with the, we have statutory protections limiting how license plate reader data. So I want to talk about this because I wrote about this on Minocqua Brewing Company's Substack. We have these flock cameras. We have, I don't know if you saw this horrific story out of Brookfield, Wisconsin, where law enforcement had misinformation. They had the wrong car, the wrong person, and yet they pull her over on the highway with weapons drawn. We've had cases all over the country where law enforcement members are using flock cameras to track a girl that they have a crush on, or an ex. And there's one story out of Wisconsin where a law enforcement member was stalking his girlfriend and her ex. There was one woman in Texas whose ex-boyfriend was tracking her to see if she'd gone to another state to have an abortion, which is one of these ways in which they're controlling people in our communities and controlling a woman's body. So you guys you're in a collar county where the tension between state law and federal pressure is obviously in play all the time. What are you hearing from DuPage residents about flock cameras? Are they concerned about these issues?
Yeah, actually, one of the people that came up to our booth at the fair brought up specifically, what do Democrats think about flock cameras, and it's sort of that person's central issue. And this is not somebody that's been a lifelong Democrat, but I think people hear these stories and they're real. And once you hear about flock cameras, you look around and you see them everywhere. And we need to make sure, obviously, that it's extremely regulated in terms of who has access to these warrants. Like all of the stuff that the Republicans want to just let law enforcement do whatever they want with. And when have we had abuse of power in this country? It's hard to think of examples that this would be relevant towards.
Yeah, it is daunting, and I feel like this is one of those things where we're playing catch up. Whether it's AI, data centers, flock cameras, like the floodgates are open, and now we're forced to catch up with all of it, and hopefully we can elect folks that will do that. So looking at the midterms, what are the DuPage Dems looking for from Springfield and from National Dems to keep the momentum going that you guys have been able to harness?
Well, we've been working really closely with the state party and getting a lot of support from, the governor's campaign. I mean, I think we're really lucky to have strong Democratic infrastructure that will make sure that, voters hear about things like vote by mail. That there's going to be a lot of mailers and opportunities for people to sign up for vote by mail.
Oh, great.
We are working really hard to knock doors and talk to people about issues like flock cameras, data centers, healthcare. The Democratic stance on law enforcement, keeping communities safe, but not, having people cower in their homes because they're afraid that, that ICE is everywhere coming after them, and, being willing to report domestic abuse and violence, and having orders served that need to be served on domestic abuse, and just make sure that we can have a functioning community out here.
But I love that you guys had a candidate for lieutenant governor on the ticket with Governor Pritzker. Christian Mitchell, who we had in studio recently, is really fantastic. I mean, like I've met him before and worked with him in Springfield. I was really impressed by his vision for what happens next, and I'm guessing the kids, the interns, and the folks who were at the event yesterday were. Well, let me know what was the response to Christian Mitchell.
They loved him. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a millennial. He's a little younger than I am even, but he knows he's a digital native. He's really smart. He speaks authentically. He can talk about a vision for what this country needs to look like. And he's been down in the trenches on the fights for clean energy. He was right there leading the charge to craft CEJA. That is why we have some of the most progressive clean energy legislation in the entire country. He's just a genuine, authentic, really smart person that connected very well with the young folks, and I'd say the older folks too. Really
Awesome.
across the age demographics.
Excellent. Again, we've been talking to Reed McCollum, chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage. You can find everything that they're up to, DuPageDemocrats.com. Again, that's DuPageDemocrats.com. And we check in with Reed McCollum every few weeks. So I look forward to talking to you again. And hi to all the interns. It was a pleasure to hang out with them last week.
Thank you so much, Patty.
Oh,
for
my
doing
pleasure.
that.
Anytime. And really, I know that if you wanted to learn more about broadcasting, so let me know when you want to come back and visit in the studio.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Be well. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation. We'll open up the phone lines in the next hour, 773-763-9278. And you can call or text more after this.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 and our friends tuning in on KKNW 1150 in Seattle and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. So thrilled to have you join us for the drive home. And of course, we want to say hello to our friends who might be tuning in as we live stream our show on Facebook and YouTube. Folks, if you have a Facebook account, there's some great folks who join our community there. We would love to have you join us and watch the show live as well as YouTube. Minocqua Brewing Company's Substack. I wrote a piece today about flock cameras. I will talk a little bit more about that during this hour. There's so much to cover. I know that last hour we were kind of a little bit casual. It was great talking to the chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage County, Reed McCollum. And if you missed that conversation or any of our interviews here, either on my show or whether it is on my show or Richard Chu's show, Jonas Pizzito. All of our shows are available as podcasts at heartlandsignal.com. And share that with your family and friends. Let them know where these conversations are happening. We would love to have them join us. And these conversations are made possible by our sponsors. Thank you so much to Pride Coffee Roasters. Got to hang out with Jackie and Patti yesterday after the Jefferson Park Sunday Market. We got dumped down with buckets of rain. And but before that, we had a very robust attendance of that lovely market where I volunteer every second and fourth Sunday of the month. And we have markets throughout the year. And we would love to have you join us there. Patti and Jackie also are at the markets in the Chicagoland area, including Skokie and Edgewater. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com to find out where they'll be next. Or you can order a bean subscription and have them delivered to your home. They have some of the best single origin roasted to order coffee beans you will ever have. And I mentioned earlier that I am now on my Guatemalan roasted coffee beans, and they have notes of malted milk chocolate and maple, and it's fantastic. I actually just had a cup of coffee before the show, so now you can hear how I sound when I'm fully caffeinated and perhaps over caffeinated. I'll be up till 3 a.m. if anyone needs me. I'll be awake, hopefully not doom scrolling. We also want to thank our friends at Minocqua Brewing Company. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and order some of the just fantastic beers they have available, including the Fascist Tears, which is a West Coast IPA. And it's for those of you who are like, I don't usually like an IPA hey, this is a good beer, and I really enjoy it. They also have they've got the Freedom Trail. They've got some THC beverages that you might enjoy, including 8647, some hop water, and just some tasty options if you want to check it out. MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, as well as the marketplace, Minocqua Marketplace. If you're watching online, you can see behind me, I have a banner from Liberal Lawn. We won't go quietly, back to the 1950s. Pro-woman, pro-child, pro-choice. And really some great products in addition to that. You got all kinds of home goods, clothing. You've got beverages and food. And I encourage you to choose an alternate to perhaps some of the corporations that give millions of dollars to MAGA. Also, if you are curious about, on the station, we have folks that are sharing really good information about companies that do invest in democratic principles. So pay attention to those conversations. And we also have our friends at Goods Unite Us, goodsuniteus.com. Sometimes if I'm going shopping and I have no choice but to go to a big box retailer, I'll at least check out what brands I should be shopping for. Really good. And they have an app, Goods Unite Us. Again, that's Goods Unite Us. And you can go right in there and type in, it's a blank screen I'm showing folks on. There you go. Goods Unite Us. And you can find out some of the folks that own these companies. Like, for example, just to give you an example, like maybe Health Valley. Health Valley contributes entirely to Democrat. I don't know what Health Valley does, though. Some sort of food. Dove Chocolate also gives most of their contributions to Democrats. And so, anyway, you can find out. Let's see, what is Wheaties? Is it Wheaties from General Mills? 55% of their donations go to Democrats, but you can see some folks go 100%, and I think that's helpful on where we spend our dollars, because I'd rather put my money where my values are, and people who are more aligned and perhaps not supporting fascism. That's just the way I am. I know it's wild. So thank you so much to our friends who had some kind words about my essay today on Substack. I wrote about flock cameras and the dangers of giving away. We have incrementally been giving away our freedoms, and I think part of that came. I think we all can trace it back to the Patriot Act. After 9/11, we were like, sure, I want to stay safe. Sure, I'm not doing anything wrong. Go ahead and have my image. And we didn't necessarily have all the information available to us, or consider how much technology would change, that AI would then have the wrong car, the wrong person as an alert related to a homicide, and then pull a woman over on the expressway in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with weapons drawn. Anyway, don't get me. I'm getting mad again, and I'm mad today about this executive order that Donald Trump has issued in regards to childhood vaccinations. He's issued an order that calls for American children to be immunized, but he wants them all separated out. He wants to change the schedule. And President calls for fewer childhood vaccinations, and he's saying that this is in relation to autism rates, even though there's no study showing a correlation. These have all been disproven. So anyway, one listener asked in the last hour, then that means extra doctor's visits. Who's going to pay for these extra doctor's visits? In addition to having to, it's again, fostering this fear and mistrust of science, of experts, of medicine. It really is exhausting. So 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. If you want to join the conversation on these or any other topics that might be on your mind. We've got Jim on the line. Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Patty. After all those years of playing doctors with Jeffrey Epstein, Trump finally came up with the cure for autism. So it did pay off. All those rapes and human trafficking paid off. He's got the cure for autism. He declared it today. He had Kennedy behind the desk. Now this is a theory that goes back to the beginning of Trump's first appears on the scene, because all Republican radio, all they could talk about was autism and vaccinations are no good, and voting is no good, medicine is no good. This is all due to brainwash you, somehow brainwash you. But this is how absolutely insane it is. Now, how can this nut, when we're in the middle of a war that he's lost, entirely lost, it has costed us a fortune. I don't know if you've been to the store lately, Patty, but it's costing me, I can tell it's costing me an extra $20 a day at the grocery store. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. Sirloin steak's gone up like $2 or $3 in the last 2 weeks. I mean, and he's talking about autism. I mean, what is wrong with this nut? I mean, really, is that what he came up with all those years with Jeffrey Epstein? He must have. That's what he came up with all the examinations he's done to human beings.
Yeah.
He's come up with this cure.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. I mean, you got to be kidding. And the whole thing is absolutely. But it's interesting because I used to listen to Republican radio before this maniac got elected again because now I can't take it anymore. But it was vaccinations. It was Dr. Fauci. It was anything to absolutely have a fantasy world, a fantasy life. That's the weird part about it.
Yeah.
They actually, I mean, how you can entertain a fantasy life on this earth is, I don't know how you can do that. I don't know how you can do that and function in society. Oh, Patty, but what's a horrible story was Mendoza. You worked for Mendoza, didn't you?
I did. I worked for Mendoza. Controller she's in Mendoza. Huh?
Yeah, I know. You're probably. Anyway, that's your business. But she's been interesting because of this horrible story about these funeral homes and these people, cremated, and their bodies and laying all over the place. It just shows you how we're getting worse and worse with human life, even when they're dead. Forget about when they're alive, but even when they're dead, we can't figure out a way to get them to the right spot.
Yeah, for folks who aren't familiar with this story, more than 50 bodies were found in various states of decomposition at South Chicago Chapel in Chicago during an investigation. And this is something that if I were still working for Mendoza, I would have Controller Mendoza. This is something I would be working on. And I'll be honest with you, I'd rather be hanging out with you guys right now. I mean, it's important work, and I miss it sometimes. I didn't know, because I didn't know where you were at when this mayor race. This mayor race is going completely nuts. You got everybody in the mayor race except, before you were born, used to be a guy that ran for mayor every year with Larry Daley. He was, Larry Daley. He ran every time for 25 years. He never won, but this race is really bizarre. There was only a couple of candidates. This one's got 15? I don't know how many. Oh yeah,
everybody's involved in this thing. Anyway, Patty, thanks for taking my call. Have a good night. Too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jim. There's a lot going on, and here, again, like I had an idea of what I was going to talk about today, and then this story about us changing the vaccination schedule for kids hit the news, and I want to go back and talk a little bit about where we are with Iran, because there was a viral post over the weekend claiming Tehran has flat out ruled ever talking to Trump. So you might be seeing content creators talking about that, and that they're going to wait him out until January of 2029. It's not necessarily true. I just want to let you guys know that claim goes back to one Iranian advisor, not the Iranian government policy. But Iran's foreign ministry says there are no active negotiations with the U.S. right now, even though Trump keeps saying that they were close to a deal, and he's been doing this the entire time. And it really does feel like, in part, market manipulation, trying to control gas prices. With the Strait of Hormuz was open before we attacked Iran, and we were told. Okay, why am I screaming? We were told last year that they were nowhere near having nuclear weapons, and then they're on the verge of it. And I think even people who voted for Trump are trying to figure out why we're doing this, and they're starting to have this momentum of USA First, which was always their thing, and many of them got tricked into believing Trump's lies about Iran, and it's absolutely insane. So the only thing that's being negotiated, I guess, is a shipping corridor between the Strait of Hormuz with Oman, not with us directly, by the way. And then Trump is telling folks that he's fine waiting Iran out because of their inflation and empty coffers. And he said it always works out. It's like a chess game, and yeah, I'm sorry, a whole country's economic collapse. Essentially, he's just talking about it as a chess metaphor. Awesome. At any rate, that's just some of the conversations happening around Iran. And if you have any thoughts on the news that you've been reading, let me know. 773-763-9278. I heard Joan talking about the races around the country. Of course, tomorrow is the primary. Folks in Wisconsin have been doing some early voting, but tomorrow, Tuesday, August 11th, is Wisconsin's primaries, and the Democrats will decide who's going to take on Tom Tiffany for governor. We're now down to 4: Francesca Hong, David Crowley, Joel Brennan, Kelda Roys. Now, I think Francesca Hong has been in the news quite a bit as someone who's considered to be the front runner. I suspect at least that Mandela Barnes, I don't know that he's gotten behind her. Last I saw, he had not endorsed her, but he said that he met with his team. They had a conversation about it, who seemed to be the next nominee, and he decided to withdraw but not endorse. But when he withdrew, then David Crowley, who had previously dropped out of the race, got back in the race and immediately secured the endorsement of Governor Evers. And there are a lot of conversations. I had someone come up to me at the market yesterday telling me that they didn't believe Francesca Hong was going to win. And then somebody else I heard say that she was a terrible candidate without any substance as to what that means. So if you have thoughts on why you think that, or, maybe I know we have a lot of friends tuning in Wisconsin, give us a call. I want to hear from our Wisconsin neighbors, and let me know where you are on this eve of your primary. 773-763-9278. Again, Hong is a state rep from Madison. She is the first Asian American member of the Wisconsin legislature, and she's leading in every Marquette poll this summer. David Crowley, who's the Milwaukee County exec, is apparently, because of Evers' endorsement, might have a shot at catching her. But I think that the fact that there's so much money being spent already by Republicans to dissuade people, to tell everyone that Francesca Hong is too much of an extremist, shows you that they know that she is the threat in this campaign. And when we come down to it in November, it'll be interesting to see how Wisconsin goes. Are they going to stick with the same old? Are they ready to elect somebody who has a bold vision for Wisconsin? I was really excited at the farmers market yesterday to see someone wearing a Fibs for Wisconsin shirt, because that is the logo that I commissioned with Hairbrain Designs. So thank you so much to Anthony Hall. Let's take a quick break here and continue our conversation. The phone lines are open. So is the text line, 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. More after this on WCPT, on KKNW, KTNF, and all of our friends tuning in digitally on Facebook, YouTube, and Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Thank you all for being here.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway, or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or
and Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home. And maybe you're not driving home. Maybe you're just hanging out, tuning in live, maybe watching our Facebook live stream, our YouTube stream. We're also streaming on Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. If you are interested, by the way, in promoting your business and supporting the work that we do here, City Bee Savers asked me yesterday how they could get involved in supporting our work. And thank you so much to Bob. It was so great to see City Bee Savers at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market. And he had a display with sort of a hive. I don't even you had two panels of glass with the bees in them, and they were not harvesting the honey. They were working on it to bring it to ripening the honey. And so he could show everybody what the process is like, and it was very cool to see. And thank you so much, Bob, for sharing that with everybody that came out to the Jefferson Park Sunday Market yesterday. And that's the only honey I use. I use City Bee Savers honey for everything. honey, and anything to sweeten. If I'm sweetening my coffee, if I'm sweetening a cocktail, I don't use simple syrup. I heat up a little bit of City Bee Savers and mix that into whatever I actually put some together for a green tea. As you know, our friend Dr. Jason Bissell, the owner of Chicago Community Acupuncture, talks about green tea, and every week I make a big pitcher of iced tea and have about a glass a day of my jasmine green tea, and I put a little bit of City Bee Savers in there, so it is tasty. And at any rate, it was great to hang out with him, with all of our friends at the market yesterday. I want to thank our friends who are texting in. So one listener says, Patti, Democrats, stop calling yourself socialist or you'll get called a communist and lose. Define yourself as a responsible capitalist and keep all the policies. Tax the rich, healthcare coverage for everyone in our country. Stop corruption, campaign reform, and everything else. A responsible capitalist is everything MAGA is not. Thank you, Dogman. I would say this is a part I struggle with because, you know, with the writing that we do at Minocqua Brewing Company and the conversations that we have here and the response from Dems, like when I challenge some of the things that Democrats are doing, whether it's an individual in the Democratic Party or some of the issues, first of all, I do feel like we need to find like the and common ground isn't even there are things for me, universal healthcare coverage for everyone in our country, absolutely. Like that's why if you listen to any of my interviews with candidates, I generally ask every single one of them where they are on universal healthcare, and if they kind of hem and haw on it and say, well, you know, we've got there's not really, like there's an Illinois legislator who I talked to or I saw at a meeting, let's just say it's the person that I ran against in my own district, but people were asking her about like where she is with moving forward with healthcare in Illinois and developing a system that is accessible for everybody. And she's like, well, there's not really a lot of urgency. There isn't a lot of energy behind doing something like that right now. And like for me, even if you are at the state level and you can't affect things federally, we should all be in the same position of saying everyone should have healthcare, universal healthcare. And I thought it was really interesting that one of Tom's listeners had the idea of, you know, let's start with lowering the age to 55 and then to 50 and then so that we are, maybe it's if it has to be incrementally. I mean, here's the problem with that though, for me, is that Republicans don't do things incrementally, and we're seeing that. So I don't know why we can't go bold. And as far as, you know, changing the language, I get that. And in some ways I've had the same conversation like about 15 years ago. Gosh, has it been that long? Maybe 12 years ago when I first met one of the alders here in Chicago who talked about being a democratic socialist. And I said, look, I understand where you're coming from, but then you're explaining what a democratic socialist. And what I know about being in politics is that when you're explaining, you are losing. And people, unfortunately, don't know how to distinguish what a democratic socialist is in comparison to socialism and then communism. And for me, I do think that having the language that works against you can be problematic. On the other hand, like I mean, you know, we are also a party of let's, you know, bring everybody under the tent, and again, let's find out what our core values are. Responsible capitalists. Again, we're talking about language that isn't going to work for everybody, or that they're not willing to use, and so I appreciate your thoughts on that. However, I think that we're at the point now where it's the generalities that we crave, right? Because Republicans are masterful at making it simplistic. And in part, that's because they tell you who to hate. You should hate this group of people, and you should feel, you know, powerful and better about yourself by voting against these people because they represent that. You know, whether it's, you know, saying that that immigrants are diluting our bloodlines, right? Muddying our population, basically calling us mongrels and things like that. And by us, I mean, I'm first generation. My mother is an immigrant. She came here from Mexico. I'm also the great granddaughter of Irish immigrants. And, you know, there are all these people talking about, you know, well, the American way, and we, you know, go back to your country if you want to practice that. And that was not those were not the founding principles of this country. At any rate, I do think that I get where you're coming from as far as language and democratic socialists. However, I think that if there is the ability to move people towards doing the things that Democrats talk about the most, affordable housing, you know, I'm sorry, but Trump said that was a made-up word. Does affordable feel made up to you folks that are struggling with affordability? I was just looking at apartments because my son is going to be moving in with some roommates, and I was kind of curious about what the landscape was for apartments here in Chicago. And I'm looking at apartments that are 2 bedrooms, 1 bath for $2,800, and not like in one of the fancy neighborhoods. Holy freaking frack. I mean, I know in this area it's not quite as bad, but it's still $1,800 to $2,000. And it's not as though salaries have kept pace with the productivity of American workers. Because Americans have never been more productive than they are now and not had salaries that reflect that as they did 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So I want to hear conversations about how we are going to do the best by working class Americans. More in a moment. Not working, but everybody. For all Americans, instead of flooding the wealth to the top 1%. Let's take a break here and continue our conversation. If you have any thoughts you want to share, 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. You can call or text. And when you call, you'll hear the lovely voice of Paul Shivari. And if you're nice to him, maybe you can come on the air and be nice to all of us. And if you want to be challenging, I'll take those calls too. 773-763-9278. Let's see how it goes. More in a moment on WCPT, KKNW, KTNF. Hello to everyone tuning in digitally. And don't forget to check out our podcast available at heartlandsignal.com.
Great news for those Chicagoans heading up to southern Wisconsin. Should you ever forget to load up on progressive brews from the local favorites like Rogers Park Provisions or Park West Liquor in Lincoln Park, Minocqua Brewing Company beer is now conveniently available at Dream Liquor and Cigar in Kenosha and in the Lake Geneva area at Delavan Liquor and Smoke in Delavan. If the great town of Madison, Wisconsin is your jam, please remember to swing into the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room at 2927 East Washington Avenue to grab some Resistance beer, pizza, t-shirts, and progressive camaraderie.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our drive home here on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago. Hello to our friends who are tuning in overnights on KKNW 1150 in Seattle, as well as later in the evening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. And hi to everyone who checks out our live stream or perhaps the rebroadcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Please share and like our posts so that we can continue to get these conversations in front of more people. Maybe share it with your friends and family and say, hey, I know that you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by everything that's happening, and here are some folks that are having conversations that might make you feel a little more engaged and empowered. I know that before the show that Trump had this press conference to sign yet another executive order. So Trump signed an executive order that guts the childhood vaccine schedule. RFK Jr., of course, standing right next to him in the Oval Office. And I don't know, again, it's just so disturbing. Some of the lies that RFK Jr. has spread as justification for disrupting the vaccination schedule. He says that kids get up to 94 vaccines by the time they're 18, which is not a true number. And so they're using these false numbers, these inflated numbers to scare people. To again, are there a lot of shots in order to protect kids as they come up through school and they're in environments where they're more vulnerable? And also, we want to achieve herd immunity, but they're basing this on the fear around vaccinations and something, and I'm not sure if I can articulate this the way I would like to. As many of you know, and in case you don't, I have 2 boys, Griffin, who recently graduated from college, and Declan, who is 21 years old and was born with a genetic disorder called Primrose, which actually we didn't know until last year that was his diagnosis because they weren't necessarily testing for that. It's a newer genetic disorder that they only started testing more widely in the last 10 years. So because Declan is 21, they had not tested for that until he started demonstrating more physical challenges. He stopped being able to walk independently about 4 years ago. And we continue to work with him and get therapies, and he never gives up on trying to stand on his own again. So at any rate, I know that throughout Declan's lifetime, the things that people have said as an excuse, whether it's in direct relation to Declan or people like Declan, they will use his life and again the intellectual and physical challenges of a beautiful human being like Declan as a reason to withhold vaccinations for their own children, which doesn't just put their child in danger, but also the kids that they go to school with, those who maybe can't get vaccinated, those if you are carrying something that might be transmitted at home to other people in the community. The idea of saying basically. And I'm not saying this, I'm actually not even saying this hypothetically. My mom has a friend whose adult son doesn't have any kids. And she told my mom that she used to feel bad about that. Like she wanted grandkids from the son. She had other grandchildren from other children. But she said that maybe it was a good thing that her son didn't have kids because what if he ended up like Declan? And what? Well, what? Look, I'm not saying it's not challenging, but basically saying better to not have children than to have the risk of having a child. We all anytime we get pregnant, it is a risk. For the first risk, by the way, is to a woman, to a girl who gets pregnant. Their body immediately changes and it is now directed towards providing the energy and nutrition for a fetus. Changes the chemistry of your body. There's a lot that goes into it that poses dangers to women. When you have a baby, there are dangers involved in all of it. But do not use kids like mine as an excuse for not vaccinating other children. I absolutely am not here for it because now they are cutting the recommended vaccine list from 18 to 11, splitting the rest into tiers. So shots for RSV, hepatitis A and B, meningococcal, I can't say that word, meningitis, you know what I'm talking about, go from every kid to getting this. Only decide if your kid is high risk. So you'll have to determine whether or not you think your child should be vaccinated against some of this. They push splitting the MMR shots. This is the one that RFK Jr. has been banging the drum about for over a decade, putting people in a position of being afraid. We had a doctor on the air last week who said even these conversations, even though she knows the science behind it, the data, the outcomes, she said even for her in a moment when her child was getting a vaccination, like that little voice kind of like creeped up. And imagine other people who don't have that expertise wondering like whether or not this injection is going to give my child autism. And because it's been platformed and amplified, whether it was by Oprah, Dr. Oz, RFK Jr., and you put we have the rise of measles in this country for the first time since I think it's 1990. We are having a resurgence of measles outbreaks, including people who have died from it. And while Trump was signing this new executive order, he said there's a reason for such epidemic rates of autism. And then in the same breath, seconds later, he says we don't know exactly what causes it. With respect to autism. Well, then why are we if you're using these theories, quantifiably incorrect and wrong theories about vaccinations, then why set an executive order if you're now saying, well, we don't know if it's this, but we may as well? It's just taking a chance with public health and with the well-being of kids all over the country. At any rate, he said it in the same sentence, like right after saying there's an epidemic of rates of autism, so I'm signing this, but we don't know exactly what the cause is for autism. And he said, it's not science. He's just trying to figure out how far he can push a lie on a live camera. And the science part, this isn't a both sides thing. This has been studied for over 2 decades all over the world, tens of millions of kids, and there is no link between vaccines and autism. Full stop. I don't know what other information, I'm trying not to get angry. Every credible pediatric and public health body on the planet agrees. It's not even a debate. It's a settled question that this administration is using to manipulate people emotionally because it's politically useful to a movement that has to have a boogeyman. And for a parent, this does mean more copays. They're using the Netherlands as an example. By the way, they've done studies in the Netherlands. They've been tracking children to see if there is a link between vaccinations and autism, and they have found that that's not the case too, by the way. And if you're using other countries like the Netherlands, where they have what? universal health care. So if they are having a different schedule for vaccinations, if you want to do that, if you want to separate out and say we don't have to do this at one visit, then maybe also with this have universal health care. That's a conversation I'm willing to have. But the Netherlands, if you're using them as an example, also have the infrastructure in place for people to have access to health care and have those extra doctor's visits instead of having to have a copay every single time you go. So they're splitting them into 3. They want to split vaccinations into 3 doctor's visits. So now you got to round up your child. For me, like if I was doing this, I would have to round up both my boys because they're 2 years apart. We generally would take them for their physicals on the same day so we could get them, get our day in order. It can be challenging, especially when you have a child with special needs, whether it's equipment, whether it's a schedule of the day. So now they want to break this into 3 doctor's visits, which means some parents are going to have to take a day off of work to make 3 visits work for them. I'm trying not to yell. Pediatricians are already saying that it's not fewer risks, and this will mean more missed and it'll be incomplete immunizations. The make it inconvenient part isn't. We're going to make this as inconvenient as possible. I hope you all don't mind. Let's just sign that executive order. And this is, it's not federal law, right? But it's still something that is going to pose a lot of obstacles for folks. This is Illinois, by the way. I'm not sure about other states, and I'll do some research on this. But Illinois has its own vaccine mandate on the books, which has been codified in state administrative code, requiring MMR, polio, DTaP, hepatitis B, and others for every kid entering public or private schools here. There are religious exemptions, and I'll never forget being in Springfield when this was being debated in 2015. I remember a legislator standing up because this is where you need to remember, folks, with your state legislatures is the most direct and impactful way to have a voice in your community. Go to your state capitals, go to your state electeds offices, email them, call them, find out whether or not they are informed on the issues that are most important to you. Because I saw a legislator rise because she had been getting letters from people in her community demanding exemptions for religious reasons for vaccinations. And if somebody has a religious reason, there should be no questions asked. They have a religious exemption. I was talking to somebody who worked in a clinical setting for seniors, and they said that. And I can't, there's so many conversations that I have now, I can't remember if this was on the air or not, but they were talking about how during COVID, they had done everything to make sure everybody was safe. They gave everybody the choice of getting the vaccination, and they did have protocols in place. If you didn't want the vaccination, only one person decided not to get vaccinated. And that helps the entire community stay safe in a setting like that. But they had, and that person had a religious exemption. That was their reason behind it. And there were no questions asked. And that should be the case if that is your reasoning behind that. However, getting vaccinated and herd immunity is the goal in these situations across our country for public health. And every kid entering public school here does have a vaccine schedule. And so it does have to be for religious exemption. You do need a signed certificate from the actual healthcare provider. Springfield doesn't have to follow a White House press release, by the way. So if you're a parent in Illinois, your kid's school vaccine requirements are not changing today. I know that we're heading right into school opening. What does change is that this directs the DOJ, now Todd Blanche's DOJ, to go hunting for states it thinks are out of compliance on exemptions. And I think that's part of the fight to watch, not, of course, this photo op in his office. Let's take a break here and continue our conversation on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle overnighghts, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, we have Matt McNeil here on our airwaves. You can hear him later tonight at 9 p.m. And Politics Bar, by the way, I love that they call all of our podcast listeners future listeners. Let's take a break here and continue our conversation. And thank you to everybody tuning in digitally as well. We're happy to have you.
No detours, no distractions, just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank Thank you so much for joining as we continue our drive home. The phone lines are open if you want to join the conversation. 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. During the break, I read a text and I realized I am part of this population that did not acknowledge or talk about the atomic bombing of Hiroshima on August 6th and Nagasaki on August 9th. Our listener says, the other station, the NPR had 2 short stories about the events of the bombings with information about some survivors of the atomic bombs. The survivors are called hibakusha, or explosion-affected people. There was a little coverage. I think about this too, how much the past obviously continues to impact us, even like 9/11 and what we went through continues to, as I was talking about flock cameras earlier, that a lot of the Patriot Act has a direct impact on us now as we have signed over so much of our privacy and rights in the name of safety. And there was a little coverage. I really had not thought about the anniversary, about how the United States created, this is again the texter, think about it, the United States created a powerful weapon to end World War II. Over 110,000 to 210,000 people died from the explosion, intense heat, and radiation. The United States became mass murderers that day, and we should never forget this fact, and hopefully never have these powerful and violent weapons ever used again by this country. And so, this past weekend was the 81st anniversary of Hiroshima, August 6th, and again, Nagasaki on August 9th. And the number of living survivors has fallen to just over 91,000, about a quarter of what it once was. And we're closing in on the last generation who can tell us firsthand what a nuclear weapon actually does to a city and the people in it. So it is something to contemplate and think about. And I don't know if they have some of those stories available online. I'm sure you can learn more just to take stock and think about that, especially in a week when we're talking about Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, this brinkmanship, and what I guess Trump is now saying is basically chess, and how casually the word nuclear gets thrown around in these negotiations. So at any rate, thank you so much to our listener from the 269 for that reminder. We were talking earlier about how, we have to explain democratic socialism, being a Democrat. When we talk about New Deal Democrats, I know a lot of our friends who join us on the air. I've got to get Kevin Ryan on. He messaged me about coming on soon, who ran in that race for the Illinois Senate race, in which Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton was victorious. But we'll get him on soon. I do appreciate if I were to define, I guess, the closest I come to all of these definitions of being a Democrat, I would say New Deal, FDR, Democrat. But then again, you're explaining what's a New Deal. And I think that, again, with the language, Republicans are definitely more lockstep. They are way less willing than Democrats to sort of go, well, what I mean by this is that, no, they just go, it's this. They throw around the word communism. Like I saw a guy at the county fair wearing a button that said, I'm against communism. Are you? And I mean, I'm tempted to say, do you know what communism is? And who are you accusing of being a communist in this country? Because it is such a boogeyman thing to say. And I think that, honestly, there's part of it is just the sound, like a hard C sound, like those words have an impact, right? And so, then saying, conflating socialism with communism, not even knowing what either one of those are. As far as I know, people in the Democratic Party do not think that the government should own everything, that it should be parceled out. And here's the thing, is selling it off to the private sector is also not functioning if you don't regulate capitalism. So at any rate, these are conversations that we're all having and trying to figure out how we elect Democrats who more closely mirror our values and our goals. In regards to the acknowledgement, the memorializing the bombing of Hiroshima, a listener says, the listener who was messaging, PBS did a 2024 documentary about the bombing of Japan. It was phenomenal. We should be paying attention and learning more, because it becomes background noise, right? It was something we learned about when we were in grade school or high school. I believe, amongst the last class of kids that would hide under their desks if we had a nuclear bomb, which was bizarre. I remember being 6 years old, 1977, and I was supposed to believe that my desk would keep me from dying of a nuclear blast. Paul, did you have any of the nuclear bomb drills You're
No,
younger
never
than me.
did.
No. What did you guys do for tornado drills? Did you go in the hallway away from windows? Because we went in the hallway and we all sat like facing the lockers. That was another thing that we
Yeah,
did.
there was a part in our grade school that was like downstairs and away from the windows, so they put us all down there.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, if there's one thing we definitely need to be doing more of is making sure we've got tornado drills. Like I remember there was like one night there were horrible storms coming out. I'm like, well, you and I are in the perfect room. We're hermetically sealed in the studios.
Yeah. I'd be worried about that big tower on top of us, though.
Well, there's that. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, there was that day that Joan was on the air and I just missed. I happened to be videotaping. I have a phone holder so I can record while I'm driving. And there was a storm rolling in and I just happened to turn. I was facing the station. I was facing the tower and I made the right turn onto, I want to say it was Central. And all of a sudden you heard the explosion. Bang, and then the station went all like crackled.
Yeah, had you been like 2 seconds
Yes.
delayed, you would have had the whole thing
God,
captured.
I wonder what that would have looked like. Because last night there were quite the late show in Chicago. People were videotaping.
Oh yeah, on the drive home for me, I saw some. It looked like it was like sometimes like lightning will go across the sky. This seemed like all of the bolts were coming straight down towards the earth.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so. I mean, the likelihood of a tornado in Chicago seems to be intensifying because we've. I mean, plus the flooding is doing all kinds of damage. The water-soaked areas of the city. Oh, we've got a listener on the. We have a candidate. I'm sorry, Rick. I just realized we had a caller on hold. Thank you, Paul. My apologies. I've got a lot of screens in front of me. I did not see this one. Rick, you're running for office in Wisconsin?
Hi, how you doing?
Very good. Yes. What are you running for?
Wisconsin District 33 Assembly. Robin Voss's seat. He's retiring. And the primary, of course, as you know, is tomorrow.
Yes.
I met you once before. You called me Southside Rick up at the Elkhorn Democratic offices. We had a nice chat. I was almost coming up on 2 years ago, January. But
yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, long story short, I just couldn't sit on my couch and watch it anymore.
Oh my gosh! Amazing.
So I'm running primaries tomorrow. I was asked. I didn't pursue it. I was asked by the chairman of the Elkhorn Democrats, to run in early April, and my initial reaction was my jaw dropped.
Wow.
And after a couple of weeks of thinking about it, I thought about my 6 grandkids and said to myself, what kind of a world do I want to leave them? And I decided to get off my backside and go. So I'm canvassing right now as we speak in Burlington.
Oh, my goodness. So is this Rick Bailey?
It's Rick Bailey.
Rick Bailey, a lifelong educator, youth sports coach, and dedicated community advocate running for the Wisconsin State Assembly to bring practical, people-focused leadership to Madison. Rick, I'm so glad that you're running. This is great news. How has it been going with knocking on doors and having these events? Is it everything you'd hoped?
Well, it's hard to put it into short responses, but all I'll say is amazing and crazy.
Yeah, I hear that.
I've been called a communist. I've been called a baby killer. But most of the people we are targeting are strong and leading Democrats because it's a primary. So the turfs I'm using are mostly Dems. So the least I get, thank you very much for stopping. At the best I get, thank you very much, and take my lid immediately, and I'm voting for you. This lawyer down the street just said within 10 seconds, you're a Democrat? Yeah, I'm voting for you.
Nice. Hold on one second. I got to take this call real quick. My mom is, hey, mommy, I'm on the radio right now. Is everything okay?
Okay, yeah, everything is okay. Bye-bye.
I'll call you right back. I'll call you after the show. That means my mom, Paul, that means that my mom is not listening to the radio. Hi, Mommy.
Yep.
Okay, Rick Bailey. I want to talk about, we've only got about a minute here. So tell me about healthcare and your vision for healthcare and fixing it in Wisconsin.
Good question. My vision is that healthcare is a right, not a privilege, based on how much money you have in your pocket. Badger care should be universal. Medicare should be totally funded the way it should. So all people, irregardless of origin, citizenship, not citizenship, they're human beings. That should be a right in the richest country in the world.
Amazing. I wish you the best of luck. I know this is a primary for you. How many candidates are in this in the primary?
just one other. Her name is Maria Elena Vizaveros from East Troy. And when I was asked, there was nobody else running. So that came whenever I went back and told the chairman, that person I was going to say, I'll run. It took me a few weeks to get off the couch and go, wow. And then she's, there's another person running. So there's a primary.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, like, but and the good news is you can have these conversations, have the debate. For folks who want to know, tell them what is there a punch number, or just make sure that they're voting for you. Give them the information.
Well, just, go to my website, and I will be honest with you, Patty, I'm a pretty tech challenged guy. So just tell me to go to my website.
Okay.
I have a wonderful guy who helps me with all the things I write, all my policy positions, and we put them all in there and we agree on everything.
All right.
And I'm just out banging doors and asking for donations.
Well, go get them, and I'll watch the results. Rick Bailey for Assembly is the website, rickbaileyforassembly.com, and maybe I'll see you on Sunday in Elkhorn. I've got to run. It's the end of our show. Thanks, Rick. I'm so glad you called in. That was awesome. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Paul Shavari. Bye.